On to my topic now. And this was inspired by the lunch I had with my girl Megan yesterday. And she was saying how now that it's gotten a little bit cooler out, she drinks a little more red wine than she does at other times throughout the year. That there's something a little bit better about having red wine in the wintertime because it's not chilled. And it's just something really nice about sitting in front of the fireplace with a book with a glass of red wine. So that was Megan's response. More red wine versus white wine in the winter. Jim says never. Summer, fall, winter, spring. My go-to is only one thing. It's Miller Lite, always with a side of ice for chilling. And I put a side of ice because he's like a 70-year-old man. He doesn't have a side of ice. He puts the ice right in his beer. Do you know anybody who puts ice right in their beer? Yeah, gross. But that's the way he likes it, so that's the way he should have it. Lauren says, I did find one that tastes like autumn in a glass, and I'm obsessed with it. It is a fiery apple martini. And it was a signature drink at her wedding. Sarah Joe says, winter beer, spring beer, summer beer, fall beer. I think Sarah Joe likes beer. Carolyn also, white rose wine to red wine. Linda says yes, white wine to red. Lauren says, nope, it depends on my mood. Michelle says, nah, margaritas are good anytime. My sister-in-law chimed in, Michelle, who are you and what have you done with Michelle? Because that is my sister and my sister-in-law. And I said, yes, Lynn, I agree. I was going to say I didn't see her have one margarita in the 2 weeks she was here. And then I was told by my sister, that's because we never went for Mexican food. All right, duly noted. We'll have to go for – we have a lot of Mexican food restaurants around here, but all of them are bring your own. I don't know if there's one Mexican restaurant around here that serves alcohol. If there is, I'm sure somebody will let me know. Mark says, note, back when I drank, it was beer with a beer chaser. Marianne just simply says no. Melissa says no, it changes with my mood, which is much more frequent than the weather. Joking aside, red wine in the winter, white wine in the summer, light beer in the summer, Oktoberfest, pumpkins, lagers in the winter, and bourbon and Irish whiskey is year-round. Ooh, maybe I'll make myself an old-fashioned this weekend. I got a nice tall bottle of bourbon in the liquor cabinet. Joe says, sure does, summer ale to Oktoberfest. And there we go. There we go with some of your choice of adult beverage for the cooler weather. Pretty interesting stuff, huh? So I'm going to move on to my blog post. I want to mention that it's interesting that I was talking about book club, and I had joined this book club because one day about 2 years ago, some woman who just moved to our area full-time because we are a tourist area and a lot of people are here only part-time. And she just moved full-time, and she said that she was looking to meet more people and suggested a book club. And now there are 90-some people in the book club, and all kinds of other groups have branched off from this book club, my early book club, my game night club. And I've met just so many people from that one post, and that's all it takes. So if somebody has not made a post like that in your community, be the one to make it. So I did have a very nice time last night, and I'm glad that I ended up going, even though I didn't read the book. So today's blog post is the importance of social connections. Expand your circle of friends and expand your life. I put a article up on the group page. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in here. So when you get a chance, check out that article. It's a couple of years old, but it's by the New York Times. And they're, they've been around a while. They know what they're talking about. But check out the picture that I have with the blog post and up on the Facebook page. It just makes me want to find a vineyard to hang out at this weekend with some tried and true girls. Or maybe it can be an opportunity to meet some new people who will possibly add a lot of value to your life. Social connections are so important for a happy life. Now, it does depend on the type of person you are, but here it is. The article that I posted on the Hopefulist group page details how people without adequate social connections died younger than people that had unhealthy lifestyles but still had friends, people who ate like crap, drank a lot, smoked. They had friends. They still lived longer than those people who had a healthy lifestyle, but not really any social connections. Now, I have lived both scenarios. I have lived like a hermit where my life revolved around the television. And I've been in situations where my social activities have been the focus of my life. In fact, when I moved to LBI the first time, I met a ton of people within the first few months, and my life changed dramatically. I went from sitting on the couch watching other people's lives unfold on television to living my own great life. I went out a lot. I hung out a lot. I made meaningful connections. And, oh yeah, I had a ton of fun. This is what I often refer to as the best time of my life and why I wanted to move back to the area permanently. The atmosphere in the town just lends itself to more social connections and activities, for me anyway. And now that I'm back, I have even more friends than the first time around. So as I've mentioned, it all started with one Facebook post in a Facebook group in our community. And now I consider this to be the time of my life. I've never been happier, and much of it is due to the many wonderful people I have in my life. I have also gone out on my own, though, to experience some things without having a friend to tag along. I've gone into New York City several times on my own to see a Broadway show or a taping of Live with Regis and Kelly. That is how long ago it was. We have been back once or twice to see Kelly with Michael. I know Joe and I went to see once with Michael. However, he was not there that day. I do not think I've gone to see them since Ryan has been on board. And it's funny because I've been seeing commercials. Apparently playing at the Kimmel Center is the 20th anniversary revival of Rent. I believe that Rent was, well, I know that Rent was the first Broadway show I went to see on my own. I had just broken up with my couch potato boyfriend, been with him for 2 years. I had been waiting all that time to have a boyfriend to go do things with, and then he never wanted to do anything. So as soon as we broke up, I was like, that's it. I'm not waiting anymore. I bought a ticket to go see Rent, went into the city by myself, and I saw Rent. So it's kind of astonishing to me that that was almost 20 years ago because the show had been out for maybe a year or two when I had done that. So that's how long ago it was that happened. 20 years. I will always remember that trip. It was almost like an awakening for me. Not long after that, I took an overnight trip to Boston on a whim. It was in October, and the drive up was filled with amazing fall foliage. I met a group of 3 ladies traveling together, and they kind of took me under their wing. I met them during a tour and hung out with them the rest of the day. They may have felt sorry for me. It didn't matter. They were a great bunch of ladies and really enhanced my trip. We even kept in touch briefly afterwards. But if it wouldn't have been for the fact that I had been solo on the trip, I never would have met them. Don't let the fact that you can't find someone to go with you somewhere stop you. That can lead to meeting some of the most interesting people, and you can have some of the most interesting trips and experiences when going by yourself rather than sitting home alone. I remember when I first started working on this one particular morning show, the male co-host was around my age, single like I was at the time. And I remember him making a comment to me one time. He's like, you're always out. You're always out doing stuff, like in a judgy kind of way. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, it's better than staying home playing video games by myself. He's like, yeah, well, that's a matter of opinion. Okay, to each his own. So, my sister-in-law, Beth, not afraid to do anything by herself. She has traveled to other countries by herself. I can't even imagine. She just went to Spain last year for 2 weeks by herself. Oh, that's so scary to me. I really just, bravo for her. I don't think I could do that. I might try an English-speaking country for a solo trip, but never a country where I didn't really know the language. She took lessons and brushed up on it and stuff like that, enough to get her through, obviously. But, excuse me, I really do think that that is something to really admire in someone. I worked for a cleaning company one summer who often had young adults come from other countries. I worked with people from Honduras, Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and the Dominican Republic, to name a few. This was my first experience with people from such vastly different backgrounds than myself. And as you often hear people say, we have much more in common than differences. But the interesting thing is learning about other ways of life, learning how other people are brought up, hearing how different some aspects of their life have been, yet still having so many similarities to ourselves. I met these three ladies from Turkey, and I am Facebook and Instagram friends with the three of them, and two of them are sisters, and I think they knew each other before they came over here, but they all roomed together, and I just love following their travels and seeing what they do, and they just really make the most out of life. Millennials, they tend to do that. It's one of the things I admire most about millennials. They just do what they want to do, go and experience life. But this is another reason why I love to read. So it's so interesting to me to read about how other people live when I wouldn't normally have access to such experiences. So I encourage you to make friends with people who are different from you. We are hardwired to seek out people who are like us, but branch out, and I think you will be amazed at what you can learn. So it is the weekend, people. Yay! Cocktail Friday, too. Of course, I hope that you get to grab a cold one or a warm one or whatever your adult beverage of choice is now that the cooler weather is setting in. Raise a glass to some new friends. Go out and search for some this weekend, or just look around on Facebook for some interesting groups in your community. The more friends we have, the happier we will be. This I know for sure. Now go make it your best day yet.
Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist, hosted by Wendy McClure. For more inspiration, please visit Hopefulist.com. Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow on The Hopefulist.
Oh, and have me on your show.